It's cold outside and I don't have a winter coat. Correction, I don't have a winter coat that I like. I do have a winter coat. This one. I call it my town coat because I wear it to go to town. And then I also have my chore coat, which I wear to do my outside chores. Chore coat and town coat. So to be clear, I don't need a winter coat. I want a winter coat that I actually enjoy wearing. No offense to this coat. This coat has served me well for about 6 years now. It's good quality. It keeps me warm. I found it at the thrift store for $9. There's really not much chance of finding a coat at that price currently, but the coats that I have seen, I haven't even really liked. So that led me to have a little focus group with myself and ask myself, what do you look for in a coat? Well, basically on these chilly mornings, I want to exit my bed without fully exiting my bed by wrapping myself up in my comforter and carrying it with me everywhere I go. But that can get a little bit awkward. So the only logical choice is to make a coat out of a comforter. I really don't want to cut this up. I seriously considered just keeping it for my bed, but it won't work for my bed because this is specifically made for a queen and I have a twin. So I could modify it a little bit, I guess. And I could put it on my bed. Oh no.
We're sorry. Ducky cannot come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's making an inconsequential decision and is utilizing all of her brain cells.
But it's gonna be a really pretty coat, right? Right?
I began disassembling the comforter, but before I could go much further, I had to come up with a design. I was envisioning a puffer type coat, but just a little fancier. So I tried on my mom's coat to see what I liked about it and what I didn't like, and decided I liked the closer fitting bodice, loved the collar, but just wanted a bit more in the skirt department. Then I could cut some shapes out of a bedsheet, stitch them together, and tinker a bit until I felt like it was acceptable. The plan was to get right back to it the next day, but
it has in fact been several weeks since I filmed that. When I first started filming this, there was a snowstorm and then an ice storm. And then it warmed up and all that ice and snow melted away. And then there was another snowstorm and that snow melted away. And it is now about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Not really coat weather. So I don't really have a need for a coat right now. But as we discussed before, this is a want, not a need. I don't really want to wear a coat right now either, but I do want to finish the coat because then I will be prepared for when it does get cold again. Here's where I'm at with this project. I did work on it just a little bit. I went ahead and cut out another muslin, adjusted the pattern just a little bit, and got it as close to perfect as possible. So now I have the pattern pieces for that. I didn't film that because, one, I did it really late at night in the dark, and two, it was really boring. So now I have all of the pattern pieces, I think. Let's hope so. This obviously is our outer fabric, and I was trying to decide what to do for lining. I decided on this. I found a bedsheet set on clearance for $7. I think it works color-wise. It looks really good with it. I know you're really not going to see it all that much. It's going to be inside the coat, but I like how it looks. I think that's really nice. The batting that's already inside of this is really thin, so it doesn't really have much poof. So we're going to add a little bit more poof. This I harvested from a different duvet cover, which I found at the thrift store. I have plans for that, and I actually want to work on it right now, but I can't work on more than one project at once. I just need to try to focus on one thing at a time. The next step is to cut out the lining fabric, and then we'll cut out the batting, and then we'll cut out the actual fabric. Good morrow to you. It is indeed the next day. Last night, all I was able to accomplish was cutting out the lining. I wanted to cut into the comforter, but I just didn't feel like I had the mental capability to do that. And it was getting late. And I really do want to take my time with this because I want to try to match the design as closely as I possibly can. I'm very nervous to cut into this. I'm always nervous to cut into fabric because once you cut, there's no going back. And it's just extra nerve-wracking when it's such pretty fabric and I can't get any more of it. It's just extra nerve-wracking. I would love to just take a moment to admire this though, the person who made this. Look at how beautifully they matched the design. That is just so satisfying.
Placing the pattern pieces on the comforter was a lengthy process, made even more so because for some reason I thought it would be a good time to tell the tale of how I acquired such a beautiful piece. I'm not the best at doing multiple tasks at once, and the story came out more than a little discombobulated. So I'll just tell it to you now, and you can pretend that I told it fabulously the first time. I'm at the thrift store, minding my own business. I have already placed the comforter into my cart, and I'm contemplating whether or not I should purchase it while I continue shopping. Suddenly, I feel like I'm being watched. I look up, and there is a lady staring at me with a grin on her face. Now, when someone is staring at you and you look at them, usually the person quickly averts their eyes or smiles and then looks away. She did neither. She just kept grinning and staring. I felt uncomfortable, so I meandered to a different part of the store and continued my shopping. But then, there she was, a few feet away, grinning and staring. Well, I was getting nervous at this point, so I went to another section much farther away to test if maybe she wasn't actually following me. I should also mention that I did see her walk in and she was accompanied by two men. All three went different directions upon entering and all were milling separately about the store. So I've gone to a different part of the store and there she is again. But this time, she approaches my cart, puts her hand on the comforter and says, "Are you going to get this?" Now, I'm trying to stay aware of my surroundings as I talk just in case one of her male companions is sneaking up behind me while she distracts me, so my attention is very divided. I wanted to be kind to this lady, but I also didn't know if she had any ill intent or not. I hadn't decided on if I was going to purchase the comforter, so my reply to her was, "Oh, I'm still thinking about it." She says, "I would like to get this," and proceeds to attempt to pull it out of my cart. I place my hand on it, preventing her from doing so, and say, "No, I think I'm going to get it." "But I want to get this," she says. "No, I'm going to get this," I say. She looks at me so disappointed and hurt and says, "You don't want me to get this?" We went round and round for a while, her saying she wanted to get it, my saying I was going to get it, and at one point it did dawn on me that maybe she was saying that she wanted to purchase it for me. But she never actually said that, so eventually I say, "No thank you," and slowly back my cart away. She finally releases her grip on the comforter and walks away like I just insulted her and her entire family.
Dishonor on you! Dishonor on your cow!
I just stood there, confused. So confused. I'm still confused. I'm not sure what her intention was. She might have had ill intent, or maybe she was just an awkward lady who wanted to do something nice but didn't know how to communicate. I can't say my communication skills are super stellar either. I waited until the trio left and finally made my purchase, which included the comforter, and they were having a 25% off all comforters sale. I think it ended up costing me about $12. Not too bad at all. But was it worth the giant spike in my cortisol levels? I do not know. I finally finished cutting out the outer shell pieces and proceeded to cut out the batting pieces and some muslin pieces as backing. Then began the journey of sewing the shell pieces, the batting pieces, and the muslin backing pieces together. I made sure the seam allowances didn't include batting to avoid bulky seams. I stitched them together by hand. I could have used the machine, sure, but I prefer to hand stitch this part. It did take quite a while and actually snowed again during the process. Once all of those pieces were together, I top stitched some sections on each piece so the batting would not shift. And that took me nearly into mid-March, and it was warm once again, so I decided to pack it up and revisit it in the autumn. What you have just witnessed, I have not. I don't know where I left off in this project, but I'm about to find out. I know it says open me in September, and it is now January of 2026, almost the end of January. I did fully intend to pull this out in September. I wasn't able to, but I had good intentions. I was going to try to get ahead of things, be prepared. I figured if I finished it in September or October, then I would be so glad when it got cold I would have the coat already made. But it didn't happen. I had good intentions, but we can't always follow through. Do not forget pockets. I remember writing this, yes. I packed it away, realized I had not cut out pockets, and I was concerned that I might forget that. That's a valid concern. All right, so. Wow. All right, so I can't say that I'm going to be able to finish this really fast because I say that a lot and it never happens, so. But it does look like I have a lot of tedious work out of the way. I've still got my work cut out for me, but this is a lot already accomplished. It is just now started to get cold, so I was trying to be ahead of things, but I'm really not that far behind if you think about it, because it just got cold. Okay, I'm remembering all the pieces now. Most excellent. This is all kinds of wonky. My tripod is broken yet again. All right, but that's okay because it's still standing. Kind of like me. It looks like I just have to start sewing pieces together. Sew the outer fabric pieces together, the lining pieces together, and then join them as one. I do tend to avoid sewing things like this that are bulky or heavy because I don't have an extension table or a sewing table with a lift. Sewing studio goals, definitely. But I really did want to make this coat, something I kept reminding myself while I was sewing pieces together because the sewing machine not being flush with the surface makes it a bit more of a workout than normal. I have to make sure to keep the fabric from yanking on the needle by sort of pushing from one side, but being careful to not overcompensate and push it too hard so that it pushes the needle. Essentially, it's a balancing act and it uses a lot of muscles I don't normally use. But I got them sewn together eventually, the bodice pieces and then the skirt pieces. So then I had a top section and a bottom section and I could sew them together. I did end up sewing the top and the bottom together. Why are they not still together? Because I took them apart. I basted them together, gave it a try on, and I decided I hated it. There was just too much poof going on in the back, too much poofiness for my liking. I did want it to be a little bit poofy, but not that poofy. And I knew that was going to be a possibility going in, that I would have to put it all together before I knew if it had the right amount of poof or the wrong amount of poof. It had the wrong amount of poof. I adjusted all of these pieces and then all of their corresponding lining pieces and then all of the paper pattern pieces. And then I went in and I trimmed the batting down so that it wouldn't be in the seam allowance, making the seams all bulky, which meant that I had to undo some of the stitching that I had done before. And then I had to redo that stitching and sew all the pieces back together again. Now I am at the point I was 24 hours ago. But the skirt is less poofy, so. I did question whether I wanted to go through all of that work just to make it slightly less poofy. And I'm still questioning it a little bit, but I would much rather have something that I really, really like and that I'm going to enjoy wearing than something that I just really don't even want to look at. I think I'm glad that I did it. Now it is time to sew the top and the bottom together for real and permanent. Almost finished. I would love to finish it today. I just don't know if that's possible. I was shoveling snow for a bit today, so I am very worn out. Snow shoveling is not for the faint of heart, so I really shouldn't be doing it. What I have left to do is to sew the sleeves up, sleeve lining, and then put them into their corresponding armholes, zipper, and then sew the outer shell and the lining together, and that's it. Sounds like very few steps, but actually it's kind of a lot, so I'm just going to see how far I can get. Sewing the lining pieces together went so quick and smooth in comparison to the puffy pieces. It had me missing my old sewing machine quite a lot. I know I did this to myself. I chose to make this. I am absolutely not complaining, and I am super grateful to be able to have this brother machine. It's been great for so many projects, things for my personal use and paid jobs, but it's not the best for working on heavy-duty projects, which is one reason I tend to avoid such projects. The sleeves are sewn in to the lining and the outer shell. That took far longer than I wanted it to. It always does. But to be fair, I did get a little bit distracted. I had to go assist my mom in putting together some alarms and the weather radio, the smoke alarm and the carbon monoxide alarm. But they're all set, all good to go. So that's good. What is not good is that I was trying this on and I realized that I had completely forgotten to do something. I even wrote a little reminder, little handwritten note, and still. So now I have to go in, take this apart a little bit, and insert some pockets. Oh well. It really wasn't all that bad. I was able to make pockets out of some scrap pieces quite easily. I decided to use the fabric with the batting instead of piecing the outer fabric to the lining fabric. 1, because it was faster, and 2, because I wanted my hands to be nice and toasty inside the pockets. Yes, it might add some extra poof in the hips, but I'm not bothered. I stitched those in and could finally put the zipper in and close up the bottom edge. And the coat was complete. I am so glad to have this finished, finally. It wasn't the longest I've ever taken to complete a project, but it's probably the most I've wanted to complete an ongoing project, so it felt like longer. I am so pleased with how it turned out. The goal was to make a coat that still felt like a comforter, and I think I accomplished that. The best word to describe this coat is cozy. This is so warm, so cozy, so comfortable, and it's comforting. It's actually comforting to wear this. Unfortunately, the weather right now is not conducive to such a coat, but in 8 to 10 months, this will be ready for me. Nothing else has to be done to it. It is completely complete. And I would not change anything about it. Usually there are several things that I wish I had done differently, but not with this. I think it was worth the wait, worth the effort, even worth the experience of finding the comforter and purchasing it. That was weird. If you've ever had a similar experience shopping in the thrift store, I would really like to hear about it. Please do share in the comments. This is what happens when you leave your home. You meet people.